hang on to your hats, because from now until Election Day, it may get kind of rough.
It may get kind of rough. Well, it sort of feels like we're already there. Lots of personal attacks in the home stretch and some pretty big risks for the campaigns. With me here to talk about this, CNN senior political analyst Jeffrey Toobin, Republican strategist Kevin Madden, former Mitt Romney National Press Secretary, who now supports John McCain, and Errol Louis, who's New York Daily News columnist and host of the morning show at New York's WWRL Radio. Welcome to everybody. Kevin, Ed Henry told us just a second ago the McCain campaign is amping up the rhetoric. They're portraying Obama as risky, even dangerous. Some say, though, they have gone too far. This is the New York Times editorial today. They have gone far beyond the usual fare of quotes taken out of context and distortions of an opponent's record in the dark territory of race baiting and xenophobia. Are they crossing the line here, Kevin?
Look, I don't think so. I mean, look, there's a big difference between negative campaigns, which are when you look across the aisle and you point at your opponent and you say, this guy's a crook, and when you look across the aisle and you talk about your opponent in terms of why they're wrong. And that is perfectly acceptable in the context of a policy debate, where you're going to take the country, your ideas for the future. And I think that's what the McCain campaign is doing. They know that there are very real doubts about lingering doubts about Barack Obama with a lot of swing voters. And since they believe that, these voters believe that Barack Obama is somehow risky, somehow an unknown, and he's untested, that they're trying to solidify those doubts. And that's how they win on Election Day in many of these swing states.
Can you guys reconcile that with what we're seeing on the campaign trail? Errol?
No, not at all. You know, it would be one thing if there were, in fact, expressed doubts. But, you know, you look at the polling data, you look at the numbers in state after state where swing state voters are moving away from the McCain-Palin ticket. So it's not that they're exploring doubts. They're trying to create doubts. They're sowing them where they don't exist. And when you ask them about it, what is it exactly that you're getting at? Are you saying that he's a terrorist? Are you saying that he's a member of the Weather Underground? Are you saying he's a Manchurian candidate? And they say, oh, well, we don't know. We just have to ask these questions. It's a despicable kind of a strategy. It doesn't seem to be particularly effective.
That's the thing that strikes me, is how totally ineffective it's been so far. I mean, here we are in the middle of this extremely serious economic situation, and they are talking about someone who is completely unknown to the vast majority of the American people.
When you say
Bill Ayers, who was a terrorist in the late 60s, that Obama appears to have had a very tangential connection to. The answer that every ordinary voter appears to be, so what? And I don't know what the answer is.
Kevin, Jeff has a point here. You're not saying, and this strategy has now been employed for a number of days, I think, you know, since we've seen Palin on the trail pushing this, it doesn't seem to be working.
Well, look, its effectiveness is definitely in question. I think that at the end of the day, if you make your central message in this campaign about personality and about figures like Bill Ayers and Tony Resco, John McCain's going to have a hard time winning. But if it is a component message to the larger issues involved, risk and somebody who's risky and somebody who's untested, on issues related to the economy, on issues related to national security, then John McCain has a chance to convince those swing voters that he's the best candidate and that Barack Obama is not somebody who's prepared to be president and would take the country in a decidedly wrong direction on those big issues. I would disagree with Errol on one point. You would presume that if he was going out there creating doubt, that he would just, you know, cede those voters to Barack Obama. And from a campaign tactic standpoint, you have to go out there and hammer away at those voters' doubts and reinforce the fact that John McCain is the tested politician here. He's the person with the experience, and Barack Obama is not.
Quickly, Errol, let me just ask you on the other side, because you have heard a number of people on the left playing up this comment. I mentioned it earlier, that one that McCain made at the debate last night in reference to Obama, and some people saying that that was racial, that they felt there were racial undertones to that comment. I mean, do you risk crying wolf? You know, when you point out racism, when it's questionable whether it's there or not,
you know,
and it undermines the real, you know, instances.
I thought about it for a long time. The comment struck me as a little bit odd, and I thought about it. Maybe that's the way they talk in Phoenix. I didn't know what it was. Maybe it's a generational thing. Maybe it was just, you know, who cares, right? But I took a lot of calls. We talked about it on my show. And really, I came to realize that in the context of all the other stuff that we've been talking about, he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. You know, well, so I wouldn't call it racially tinged. But if somebody did, I don't think he's entitled to it.
As a former Phoenician, I never heard it in Phoenix. I didn't think it was racist, but I thought it was like a grumpy old man. I thought it was rude, which is not as bad as racist, but it's not good either.
Okay, guys, you're going to stick around. We got more to talk about. We're going to get back to them later. Tomorrow, also, is Sarah Palin the answer to the prayers of evangelical women? Take a listen to this.
You feel like she's someone you can hang out with?
Yeah, I feel like if she walked in my door right now and we could sit down and have snacks with her and talk and have a ball. I feel like she's one of us.
We've been talking to a lot of women about this race. We're going to have a panel of women on tonight talking about the debate. As you heard there, these are women who say Palin is a brilliant choice for vice president. They're going to tell us why tomorrow right here in the Election Center. Stay with us tonight for a new look at the ever-changing electoral map. New polls show key battlegrounds turning blue. Find out what is changing the landscape when we come back. More than 63 million people watched last night's debate, but did it fundamentally change the direction of the race? Well, the consensus is that no, it did not, but there is one more debate ahead. John McCain, Barack Obama, and back with me to talk about how the candidates can improve on last night's performance. Once again, Jeff Toobin, Errol Louis, and Kevin Madden. Kevin, let me start with you because the general feeling is last night wasn't a game changer, and that's what John McCain needs at this moment if you look at the polls. So one debate to go. If you're telling him what to do, what do you tell him?
Well, I think he has to continue to make the argument that Barack Obama would take the country in a very wrong direction. I mean, if we look at all these polls, there's a very small sliver of undecided voters out there. That's John McCain's audience. He has to go out there and make the case that he's the tested candidate. He's the one with the experience. He's the one with the strength on the big issues that they care about. He's going to be the one that's going to instill confidence in the markets, and he's going to protect people.
How, Kevin? Because he said all of these things. And how do you do it? You have this moment. You have this one moment to do it. I mean, what does he say that's different? How does he do it that, you know, it seems like he's tried everything you said and it hasn't worked yet.
If you look at the anxiety that a lot of voters have on the economy, and if you look at the anxiety they have on national security issues, John McCain has to, in these final closing days, make a closing argument that Barack Obama is just not prepared to lead the country on those issues. He doesn't have the experience, and he quite frankly hasn't been tested before on these issues. And he has to do so with a relentless precision. You can't do it just a little bit one day and then maybe a little bit the next. It has to be from here all the way until November 4th, and relentlessly hammer home that readiness issue.
Does that mean, guys, negativity? I mean, you have no choice at this stage of the game but to launch a negative campaign, Errol.
Well, it's depressing to hear that. I don't know that the logic would necessarily take you there. It sounds to me that I could maybe see doing that for maybe a week or 10 days just to try and fire up the base because contrary, I think, to what Kevin is saying, I think that appeals to the base. I mean, they are, in fact, a little bit upset. They're a little bit, they want to taste some red meat.
I'm not depressed. I don't mind negative campaigning. I think negative campaigning is fine, but you've got to have some message attached to it. And what is John McCain's plan for the economy? There has never been a consistent message. The thing that John McCain talks about more than anything is cutting earmarks, which may be a wonderful thing, but it is not going to affect the economy at all. And he's got no other big message.
Because, Kevin, even in what you say, it sounds like the primary message you think he needs to convey is that Barack Obama is a risk. And again, if you're talking about this small margin of independent voters, don't they respond poorly to that sort of negative message?
Well, they're not just independents. There are a lot of Democrats out there that aren't fit with Barack Obama on a lot of these big issues. And what they really want to see is John McCain reassure them on those economic issues, on those national security issues. Because right now, Barack Obama's support is still a bit soft.
All right.
And John McCain has to cut into that.
Kevin, got to go. To Jeff and Errol, thanks to all of you. That's it for tonight. Larry King Live starts right now.